Welcome to the Psychology of Health. My name is Milan Toma, and I'm an associate professor at New York Institute of Technology, College of Osteopathic Medicine. If you're new here, let me briefly set the stage. This podcast is devoted to making complex scientific research accessible. No personal opinions, no hype, and no misinformation. My aim is to bring you clear, evidence-based insights drawn directly from peer-reviewed studies. Today, I am tackling one of the most stubborn and pervasive beliefs in the world of health, fitness, and aging. The idea that our metabolism simply falls off a cliff in middle age, leading to inevitable weight gain. This widespread assumption has shaped how millions of people view their 30s, 40s, and 50s, often serving as both an explanation and, perhaps, an excuse for the gradual weight accumulation that many adults experience during these central decades of life. This belief is so deeply entrenched that it influences not only popular understanding, but also professional clinical practice, where both patients and healthcare providers often attribute weight gain in midlife to what they simply call a slowing metabolism. However, recent groundbreaking research utilizing gold standard methods for measuring how we burn energy has fundamentally challenged this long-held conventional wisdom, painting a far more precise, nuanced, and frankly, surprising picture of how human metabolism actually changes across the entire lifespan. Understanding these critical findings is absolutely vital. It is necessary not only for successfully dispelling the myths about aging and unwanted weight gain, but also for the important work of developing strategies for lifelong weight management that are based squarely on biological reality instead of popular misconceptions. The cornerstone of this conventional belief is the idea that weight gain in adulthood is primarily the direct result of a metabolism that is slowing down. Yet, the large-scale studies that have been conducted recently employed a technique that is considered the gold standard for accurately measuring total energy expenditure. This technique is known as doubly labeled water, a method I discussed in detail in the previous episode on dietary trends. This sophisticated methodology has allowed scientists to fundamentally revise our entire understanding of how human metabolism shifts and changes across the entirety of the lifespan, from infancy right up to extreme old age. One global analysis, which involved more than 6,400 individuals, ranging in age from 8 days old to 95 years old, successfully identified 4 distinct metabolic life stages. When the researchers adjusted the data for body size and composition, the trajectory of total energy expenditure revealed a surprising pattern. Metabolism accelerates rapidly during infancy. It actually peaks at about 1 year of age, reaching a level of energy expenditure that is nearly 50% higher than typical adult values. Following this peak, the total energy expenditure then steadily declines throughout childhood and adolescence, finally reaching stable adult levels when a person is around the age of 20 years old. Now, here's the critical part that directly addresses the midlife myth. Contrary to popular and clinical belief, adjusted total energy expenditure and basal metabolic rate remain remarkably stable. This stability holds true from the age of 20 years right up to the age of 60 years. Think about that span of time, 40 years, where your engine size does not fundamentally shrink. This includes stability even during periods like pregnancy, where energy needs might be expected to fluctuate dramatically. It is only after the age of 60 years that metabolism finally begins its decline. After this 60-year inflection point, total energy expenditure and basal metabolic rate drop by about 0.7% per year. This steady but gentle decline means that by the time a person reaches the age of 90 years old, their energy expenditure is roughly 25% lower than it was during middle age. The key takeaway here, the absolute main point that we must internalize, is that metabolism simply does not slow down during midlife. Instead, both total energy expenditure and basal energy expenditure remain stable, holding steady from the age of 20 years to the age of 60 years, with the decline commencing only after the age of 60 years. So, if metabolism is stable, why is weight gain so common during the middle decades of life? Despite these stable metabolic rates in adulthood, body weight and fat mass do indeed tend to increase, starting around the fourth decade of life and continuing onward. On average, adults experience a weight gain of 0.3 to 0.5 kilograms per year between the ages of 40 years and 66 years. This weight gain confirms that something is changing, but it is not the overall speed of the metabolic engine. The weight gain is instead caused by changes in body composition, shifts in activity levels, and complex nonlinear molecular changes. The nature of this weight gain is also not uniform, which is an important consideration for health. Older adults tend to accumulate more central fat, specifically what is known as visceral fat. Visceral fat is the fat stored around the organs, and it is metabolically active, meaning it is biologically consequential. This accumulation is closely associated with an increased risk of serious conditions, including insulin resistance and cardiometabolic disease. Simultaneously, while fat mass is increasing, lean mass or muscle mass begins to decline. This process is scientifically known as sarcopenia. These simultaneous changes in body composition are vital because they fundamentally alter metabolic function. Lean tissue is actually the primary determinant of a person's total energy requirements. Therefore, the age-related increases in fat mass coupled with the loss of muscle mass are the real drivers of changes in metabolic health and daily energy needs. The key point we must always remember is that age-related weight gain is driven by this increased fat mass, particularly visceral fat, and the critical loss of lean mass rather than the long debunked myth of a midlife slowdown in metabolism. It is true that resting energy expenditure does decrease with age. However, studies show that this decline in resting energy expenditure is out of proportion to the loss of lean mass, which suggests that there are additional, deeper age-related changes occurring within the body's tissues and cellular metabolism. Beyond the resting expenditure, the thermic effect of food, which is the energy required to digest and process what we eat, also decreases. Furthermore, the energy expenditure resulting from physical activity also drops. This reduction in activity energy expenditure is largely due to reduced overall activity levels typically seen in older adults. It is important to note, though, that even highly active older adults still experience some measurable decline in both muscle mass and muscle function. This indicates that there is a primary effect of aging occurring that goes beyond simple lifestyle factors. The reasons for adult weight gain are multifactorial, meaning they involve several contributing elements and they are also nonlinear. They involve a stable metabolism that lasts until late life, vital shifts in body composition, and waves of molecular change that inherently increase disease risk at specific ages. Effective prevention strategies must therefore pay close attention to maintaining muscle mass, promoting consistent activity, and considering the critical timing of interventions. Recent advancements in highly sophisticated multi-omics profiling have added another vital layer of complexity to our understanding. These techniques reveal that the biological processes underlying both aging and metabolic health do not simply change in a smooth, linear fashion. A longitudinal study involving 108 adults aged 25 years to 75 years conducted comprehensive profiling of various molecular markers, including transcripts, proteins, metabolites, cytokines, and microbiome composition. The study found that the majority of molecular markers of aging change non-linearly, meaning they do not follow a straight line. Instead, the study identified two major periods of molecular dysregulation, or upheaval, occurring at distinct inflection points. One around the age of 44 years, and the second one around the age of 60 years. These two transitions correspond to critical waves of molecular and functional changes. These changes include significant shifts in immune regulation, alterations in how the body handles carbohydrates and lipids, and an overall increased risk for cardiovascular, metabolic, and neurodegenerative diseases. These findings profoundly suggest that the risk of age-related diseases accelerates sharply at specific points in the lifespan, rather than increasing slowly and steadily with every passing year. We can see this acceleration clearly when looking at conditions like cardiovascular disease. For example, the prevalence of cardiovascular disease in the United States rises from about 40% in the age group between 40 years and 59 years, jumping dramatically to 75% for those aged 60 years to 79 years, and reaching 86% in individuals over the age of 80 years. Similar patterns of nonlinear change are visible in markers related to kidney function, glucose metabolism, and immune regulation, all showing sharp inflection points around the age of 60 years. The key point here is undeniable. Most molecular and metabolic changes during aging are nonlinear, with those major transitions around the ages of 44 years and 60 years corresponding directly to increased disease risk. These discoveries have powerful implications for how we approach weight management and health interventions. The proven stability of metabolism during the majority of adulthood means that midlife weight gain absolutely cannot be excused or blamed on a suddenly slowing metabolic rate. Instead, weight gain during middle age is more accurately attributed to the changes in body composition, the shift toward fat mass and away from lean mass, reduced physical activity levels, and the complex nonlinear shifts in molecular pathways that influence appetite control, fat storage mechanisms, and the intricate balance of energy. Given this accurate biological picture, what should our focus be? Interventions that prioritize the preservation of precious muscle mass, the promotion of consistent physical activity, and overall support for robust metabolic health are vital for preventing age-related weight gain and subsequent metabolic dysfunction. Specific strategies that support these goals include resistance training, ensuring adequate protein intake, and potentially incorporating nutrients like omega-3 fatty acids, which have been studied for their potential benefits. Moreover, the identification of these specific nonlinear molecular transitions around ages 44 years and 60 years suggests that there may exist critical windows of opportunity for intervention. Understanding these two inflection points could allow us to personalize strategies for maintaining a healthy lifespan and effectively preventing or delaying the onset of age-related diseases, including obesity and its many complications. The key takeaway message regarding interventions is that weight gain in adulthood is not caused by the myth of a midlife metabolic slowdown, but rather by changes in body composition, decreased activity, and those critical nonlinear molecular shifts. Targeted interventions, especially those applied during these key biological transitions, hold great promise for helping to prevent both obesity and the cluster of chronic age-related diseases. Let's summarize the main takeaway points, reinforcing the evidence we have reviewed. First, we must stop blaming midlife weight gain on a slowing metabolism. We know now, based on gold standard research, that the metabolic rate remains stable from the age of 20 years right up to the age of 60 years, declining only much later in life. Second, we must recognize and appreciate the profound importance of body composition. The age-related increases in fat mass, especially visceral fat, and the corresponding loss of vital muscle mass are the real forces that drive changes in metabolic health and determine our overall energy needs. Third, we need to fully appreciate the nonlinear nature of the aging process. We now understand that most of the consequential molecular and metabolic changes do not happen incrementally, but occur in distinct waves, with major transitions clearly identified around the age of 44 years and the age of 60 years. Fourth, the practical focus for a healthy life must be on maintaining muscle mass and engaging in consistent physical activity. These two factors are unequivocally key to preventing age-related weight gain and mitigating metabolic dysfunction throughout adulthood. Finally, we should consider the precise timing of interventions. Since we have identified these critical periods of accelerated molecular change, targeting our preventive and proactive strategies during these specific ages may significantly improve the prevention of obesity and other chronic diseases. Hence, the causes of adult weight gain are complex, involving multiple factors, and they are not linear. The true biological reality involves a stable metabolism that persists until late life, significant shifts in the balance of fat and muscle in body composition, and distinct waves of molecular change that raise disease risk at specific, predictable ages. Effective prevention and sustained health require a conscious shift away from blaming the metabolism and a focused attention toward maintaining muscle mass, staying active, and utilizing the knowledge we now have about the critical timing of health interventions. The midlife slowdown myth has been successfully debunked by science. It is time for our health strategies to catch up with this new, powerful biological reality. As always, everything discussed here is anchored in rigorous research, not personal opinion. If you'd like to review the studies referenced in this episode, please see the episode notes. My goal is to provide you with the most objective and actionable health science possible, so you can make informed decisions based on the best available evidence. Until next time, thank you for listening to The Psychology of Health.